Carrie sat on the psychiatrist's couch, comfortable and soft, as she cuddled a pillow to her stomach. She stared at one spot, though she didn't really stare at it as much as she looked through it, making everything else in her vision blur. Her thoughts piled on top of one another, one by one, until eventually she didn't know what she was really thinking about. Her daze was only broken by Mrs. Ramsgate, the psychiatrist, walking into the room and shutting the door very quietly. How are you, Carrie?" she asked gently. "Good," was Carrie's only response. "It's your 16th birthday! Happy 16th! You must be so excited!" Another shrug. Did you get that locket this morning for your birthday?" Carrie fiddled with the gold oval-shaped locket that hung from her neck. She nodded. "May I see what picture is inside? Have you put a picture in it yet?" She nodded again and opened the locket with a small click. Mrs. Ramsgate approached her so she could see the picture with better clarity. It was of Carrie and her 3 siblings, and they all looked much younger than they were now. Mrs. Ramsgate guessed that it was taken the last Christmas all of them were together. "It's a very nice picture, dear," she commented before sitting back down in her chair. "Thank you," Carolyn replied. "How are your siblings, by the way, dear? How is Thaddeus?" "He's doing well. His grades are dropping again." "Again? Why are they dropping?" "Wanderlust. Mom says he's not fit for college." "And why is she saying he's not fit for college?" "Because he just can't focus. He's taking all these art classes. He finished all of his requirements last year. And he really just wants to go abroad. He really wants to go to Italy. I don't think Mom and Dad want him to." "So he wants to travel. He wants to continue doing art." "Yes, but he wants to do it outside of the United States. He wants to actually be around paintings in the Borghese Gallery and statues, and he wants to go to Paris and Rome and Florence. He doesn't want to stay here." "Well, I'm sure he can go visit abroad." "He can, but that's still another year away, and he hasn't learned to get into the program yet." "Well, I'm sure Thaddeus will be fine." "How is he holding up?" "Besides the grade thing, you mean?" "Yes, besides the grades." "He's fine. He's coming home for the holidays soon." "Are you looking forward to having him be home?" "Yes." "But you always got along better with Patrick than you did with Thaddeus." Carrie nodded. She stayed quiet for a little while, and Mrs. Ramsgate didn't ask any more questions for a couple of minutes. Carrie's thoughts swirled with the ideas of Thaddeus and Patrick and what their childhood was like. She could remember the kisses on the head that she would get from Patrick when she was especially young. Patrick, being 12 years older, was always extremely protective of Carrie. Thaddeus, on the other hand, was more the annoying brother who would pull at her hair or pinch her when she wasn't expecting it. She always called out for her mother, and her mother told her not to be a tattletale, but also told Thaddeus to stop pinching his little sister. He never stopped. "What about Susan?" Mrs. Ramsgate asked. "How is Susan doing?" "We haven't heard from Susan in a really long time." "Why is that?" "She finally got away from us. Why would she want to contact us?" "Is she enjoying her internship?" She wants to leave it. Why? Because they published Patrick's first book. Do you have a copy of this book? Yeah, a signed copy. He was her brother. Of course she had a signed copy. She actually held it dearer to her than any other possession she had. She kept it on her bedside table, folded just right, no pages bent, no corners, folded down to mark a place. She always used a special bookmark that she actually got from Patrick whenever she read the book. Well, when was the last time Susan contacted home? I don't know. Maybe 3 weeks ago. And your parents haven't tried to contact her? No. They know it won't do any good. She won't pick up. Is Susan still upset, dear? At this point, and it was always at this point during my counseling meetings, Carrie almost started crying. She and Susan had never been close. In fact, Susan had always been a little bit cold in her features and her eyes, which were icy blue. And in general, Susan was always driven by her future, what she wanted to do with her life when she got away from her family and her parents. And last year had amplified that feeling to the point where she tried to cut off contact almost completely. That broke everyone's hearts. And how is Gwen? This question always came up in the counseling meetings, and it never failed to make Carrie cry. She couldn't think about Gwen without feeling a slight bit of dislike and anger. She's coming for the holidays too, Carrie managed to say. How do you feel about that? I don't want her to come. Their house has a scent. Did you know that? It's the type that lingers on clothing. It never leaves you. It seems to follow you around no matter what you do or where you go. She's gonna bring the puppy. I don't want her to come. Darling, don't you like Gwen? Don't you love her? Yes, but it's all her fault. Everything of this is her fault. No, darling. Carrie, it is not Gwen's fault that this happened. Yes, it is. If she had told us sooner, we would have been able to stop it. Darling. Carrie, listen to me. It is not Gwen's fault. I know you've held on to this, but it is not Gwen's fault. She couldn't stop Patrick any more than anyone else could have. It was Patrick. It was all Patrick. If she had told us sooner, if she had just told us, we would have been able to stop him. He would have gotten help. He wouldn't be dead. At this, Mrs. Ramsgate went quiet. So did Carrie. But Carrie also started sobbing. A couple of weeks ago was the anniversary of Patrick's death. Carrie could remember the cries of her mother when her mother answered the telephone, and Gwen's choking was on the other line. took her 5 minutes to even say the words, Patrick's gone. I knew it would take even longer, much, much longer, for Carrie to ever forgive her.